to me. He hadn't give any up. He was already giving updates on my health, and he had no idea what had gone on. Yeah, so disappointing, mate. Disappointing.
I wasn't saying anything negative toward him. You know, and I think the things can be taken out of context, or he didn't see what I said, because I don't even remember what the fuck I said. But never once did I say anything negative about him, or, you know, in a derogatory way.
UFC is buzzing again after Dana White's sharp comments toward Tom Aspinall sparked a wave of debate across the MMA world. The discussion spread fast, touching every corner of the community. Aspinall first addressed the strange backlash following the fight, and what he described sounded unbelievable. Some fans actually accused him of faking the injury, despite clear replays showing an eye poke in real time. Even after weeks of medical tests, reports, and specialist visits to confirm the injury, the criticism only grew louder, with more people questioning his honesty and integrity as a fighter.
Realized, like, oh, people genuinely think that I faked this. People actually think that I was faking it. And then I was like, did people actually see the replay of what happened? Because that was a full-on eye poke. So then I was like, what is going on? Why are people thinking I'm faking this, like, after everything that I've been through to get there? So then I left it quite a while. I thought, right, I'm gonna get all the doctor's notes included. I've been through it for like loads and loads of tests for weeks. I've literally been in the hospital 2 or 3 times a week getting different tests. Then I come up with a doctor's report, and then people are like, oh, he's fine about it. He's doing a media tour on it.
Tom then spoke about hearing Dana's remarks and admitted they left him disappointed, which is understandable from his point of view. He explained that Dana hadn't spoken to him privately, yet was already giving public updates about his health without fully knowing what Tom had been dealing with. From his perspective, narratives were forming before he had a chance to explain his side or share the full medical picture. It felt like decisions were being made about him rather than with him, while the whole world listened.
Slightly disappointing, because he hadn't spoke to me. He hadn't give any he was already giving updates on my health, and he had no idea what had gone on. Yeah, so disappointing, mate.
Dana White later responded, saying the UFC had been checking on Tom constantly. According to Dana, doctors and specialists were involved the entire time, and the organization stayed in regular contact regarding Aspinall's condition. He explained that he was simply relaying what the medical team had told him about Tom's status and recovery timeline. Dana stressed he was not downplaying the injury, but believed Aspinall would heal properly, take the necessary time off, and return when he was fully ready to compete again.
And I know Tom said, you know, I haven't even talked to him and all that stuff, but we have people all over him right now, you know, checking up on him, making sure he's good. Does he need any help, or, you know, any specialists? Yeah, I'm no doctor. I'm just saying what I've heard. And that was in no way, you know, it wasn't said in a way that they're like, oh, what do you think? I said, I think he's fine. Or it wasn't like that. I said, I think Tom's eyes are good. He's going to take some time, heal.
Dana clarified that nothing he said was meant negatively and believed his comments were taken out of context. He noted how often statements get dissected in today's media environment. While he didn't recall his exact wording, he insisted nothing was intended to disrespect or dismiss what Tom was experiencing. Dana acknowledged that Tom was understandably emotional after suffering a serious eye injury in a major fight. His main point, he said, was simply that Tom would recover and come back when ready.
Anything negative toward him, you know, and I think the things can be taken out of context, or he didn't see what I said, because I don't even remember what the fuck I said. But never once did I say anything negative about him, or, you know, in a derogatory way. You know, I'm sure he's upset and fired up, and, you know, he'll get better, and we'll get him back.
Luke Thomas added that this situation goes beyond personal tension between Dana and Tom. In his view, it's about star power and where fighters sit in the promotional hierarchy. If Aspinall were already a proven pay-per-view draw, the UFC would likely defend him more aggressively and control the narrative more carefully. Promoters naturally prioritize their biggest attractions. Tom hasn't yet had those defining marquee moments that elevate someone into full superstar status, even though his ability is undeniable.
Say is, if Aspinall was a huge driver of an audience for them, Dana would probably look past a lot of whatever else is driving the friction, right? So we probably wouldn't even be asking this question if he was drawing like enormous amounts of eyeballs. It just wouldn't even be a part of the conversation. You would be factoring in that Dana would just, find a way to make good use of that, which, by the way, you would expect a promoter to do that. That would be the right thing to do. So the fact that he's not doing that kind of tells you where you're at. Now, again, I don't think that's the biggest indictment on Tom. There's just not many stars, and Tom could be big and important for the UK market, which of course I think that he is, but he just hasn't graduated to, dude, it takes a long time to become a superstar. You have to get fights like the John Jones fight. You got to kind of win them. That's the thing that
Luke continued by saying Aspinall has superstar potential but hasn't fully reached that level yet, which influences how the UFC handles situations involving him. He also suggested there could be more behind the scenes, such as declined fights, media obligations, or even his father's involvement in career decisions. Aspinall sits in a tricky middle ground. Important enough to have leverage but not yet big enough to dictate terms entirely. That space can easily create friction with promoters.
Superstar potential, but hasn't actualized it yet, and I think Dana's calculus probably plays into that. However, what I would say is there's got to be something more to the story. They don't like that Tom might have asked for certain things or said no to certain things. They may not like that Tom's father is his own man and that speaks his mind. I mean, there could be any number of other things that are probably also exacerbating tensions, because I seriously doubt it's strictly, I mean, like on the one hand,
Referee Mark Goddard offered his perspective, arguing that the sport needs prevention rather than punishment after the fact. He believes the solution starts with glove design. Gloves that keep the hand naturally relaxed could reduce accidental eye pokes while still allowing grappling. This would also make things easier for referees during fights, reducing constant warnings and letting them focus on the action instead of finger positioning.
To look at preventative measures too, and I think a lot of that rests in the glove. It's not like a magic, there's no rocket science, it's not a magic wand. I'm not saying that, it's an easier mechanic as well. If we have a difference in the glove, without getting into it here, talking about how fighters' hands are during a fight, in a natural C, closed. Obviously, they still have to be able to open their hand to facilitate the grappling. But I think it's a twofold attack. One is mechanical, like I said, a change in the glove, a design to make sure that we can at least help to keep the hand in a relaxed state. Then if it's what I think then for referees, it's a much easier.
Goddard also said that in over 2 decades of officiating, he has never believed a fighter intentionally tried to eye poke an opponent. These incidents, in his view, are accidents caused by timing, range, and chaotic exchanges, not malice. He urged fans to understand that distinction and be patient as commissions and organizations work on long-term solutions, even if progress varies across different jurisdictions.
In a fight, I've never, ever, like I said, 21 years as a ref, I've never actually, in a free-form fight when people are exchanging blows, I've never once thought that a fighter has done that intentionally to poke someone in the eye. It just doesn't. I've got news flash. It just doesn't happen like that. Unfortunately, stylistically, unfortunate, bad things happen in fights, and we're going to tackle it. That's all I can say. Please side with.
Chael Sonnen added a different angle, pointing out that sports like wrestling and judo involve constant hand fighting, yet eye pokes are extremely rare. To him, that proves the issue is specific to MMA's setup. Sonnen argued the real problem isn't equipment, but inconsistent rule enforcement. MMA already has clear rules against eye pokes. If fighters were regularly disqualified and lost purses for violations, he believes eye pokes would disappear quickly. Blaming glove design, in his view, avoids enforcing existing rules.
For example, with absolutely no glove whatsoever, we don't have a lot of eye pokes. They happen. They're not non-existent, but it's not to the point that it's a problem. Olympic judo. Judo in general doesn't have to be the Olympics, but you're allowed to touch the person's face. You're allowed to reach for the person. You're encouraged to do so, and you don't really have what you would define as a problem with eye pokes. So, but this is part of the pretend. This is all part of the pretend. We're pretending that the person poking the other person in the eyes is not trying to poke them in the eyes. We can't imagine that they would.
Michael Bisping weighed in, saying it's natural for Tom to feel frustrated while dealing with fan backlash, medical appointments, and time away from training. Bisping doesn't believe the eye poke was intentional, explaining that fingers often extend during grappling exchanges. He argued that the current fingers up or down rule doesn't reflect the reality of fighting. Instead, he believes fighters should be taught from the beginning to keep a relaxed fist when not striking.
3 big rules. We call them the big 3 because they're the only ones that were around in yesterday and they're allowed today. Don't bite him. Don't kick the son of a bitch when he's down, and don't touch his eyes. Any one of those 3 has got to, if you want it to stop. And by the way, you don't need to change the gloves. Like, this is a cop-out. This is a massive cop-out. If you start disqualifying athletes for any one of those 3, you will never see any of those 3 again. You can change the glove, you can chop their fingers off, or you can just hold them accountable when they do it. And that seems to be the one big idea that nobody has yet.
Bisping emphasized that Tom's top priority should be listening to doctors and not rushing his recovery. Eye injuries are serious, and Aspinall is still young with plenty of time ahead in his career. While some fans want him to come back angry and prove a point, Bisping doesn't see that as the smart move. In his view, patience and long-term health matter far more than silencing critics right now.
Obviously, Tom's the one living through this. Tom's the one that's getting absolutely slaughtered online. And Tom's the one 6 weeks later still having to go to the doctor and still can't train and do any kind of combat. So he's the man that's living with this, okay? So you understand, you kind of will get emotional. You will be pissed off and you will think that Cyril Gane was doing that on purpose. I still don't, okay? I don't think Cyril Gane did that on purpose. What you want to do is crack someone in the face. And when the hands are out, when you go to grab, if someone comes in to take you down or whatever, sometimes that happens. That's why this whole rule of the fingers being up, not allowed there, but they're allowed there, is stupid.
This is number 1.
Because what happens when someone comes forward and you got to grab them, because you can grab, you're allowed to in the rules, fingers go haywire, go into eyes. Make a fist, make a loose fist. It's not hard, that's all that's going.
Chael Sonnen also noted that Aspinall became a champion while remaining calm, smiling, and relaxed. He's only needed a second round once in his UFC career and still finished that fight. Sonnen questioned what might happen if this controversy fuels a more motivated, angry version of Tom. No one knows the answer, which is exactly what makes the situation intriguing and potentially dangerous for the division.
To the doctors, do not rush anything. The man's still young, he's in his prime, he's not on borrowed time, he's still got years ahead of him. Listen to the doctors, come back, whoop some ass, take the gloves off, no more Mr. Nice Guy, tell everyone to go themselves, knock some people out, and this whole escapade will be behind it. Doing interviews and showing the receipts and showing the doctor's appointments and all the rest of it, I don't think that's the way forward.
Beyond the Aspinall situation, UFC 33 became another major talking point, especially in the bantamweight division. Khamzat Chimaev surprised fans with a message of sportsmanship, congratulating Petr Yan and wishing Merab a speedy recovery. Belal Muhammad also praised Merab, calling him a beast and highlighting his incredible activity level. He pointed out that Merab fought 4 title-level bouts in a single year, making championship weight each time, an unbelievable workload in modern MMA.
Champion, and before that he was the interim world champion. You know that guy that knocked out 6 men in the first round? You know that guy that Bisping was talking about, who in his entire career in the UFC has only gone to the second round once? By the way, that was against a world champion who, by the way, he ended up stopping. That guy. That guy's done all of that in a good mood. He's done all of that with a smile. He's done all of that happy. What are you going to do with a 262-pound angry Tom Aspinall? And you can't answer that.
Tom Aspinall also reacted to the fight, admitting he couldn't imagine Merab losing before it happened. He praised Merab's dominant run and credited both fighters for delivering a matchup worthy of another chapter. From a fan's perspective, Aspinall said the fight was competitive enough to justify a trilogy, believing contests that close deserve a definitive conclusion.
Merab losing anytime soon. Fair play.
He has had 4 fights.
Fair play, Merab has had 4 fights. I'd be interested in a trilogy. I definitely want to see a trilogy of that.
Aljamain Sterling broke down the fight technically, noting that Merab didn't attack the body with his hands as much as usual. Sterling also pointed out how comfortable Yen looked in southpaw, especially with his consistent body kicks. He believes these issues are fixable through film study and adjustments, and doesn't think this performance reflected the best version of Merab we've seen.
I wouldn't say he didn't at all go to the body, like with his hands like he normally does. And we really feel like that could have probably been a difference maker. Kind of like when the first fight, Jan kept attacking the calf, and then Merab started kicking his leg back, and eventually he hurt him, had him forced to switch into the southpaw stance. This time, Jan was a lot more comfortable in the southpaw stance because he was having a lot more success with that left body kick. And yeah, just a couple of technical things we were doing wrong. I think once we look at it and evaluate it together, we'll all kind of see the same thing and be able to make those adjustments relatively quick. And just kind of do some fight walkthroughs, some fight simulations, and I think that's going to be the difference maker to us making adjustments to his adjustments. And I find it hard to believe.
Leon Edwards also reacted, calling Yen versus Merab a spectacular fight that showcased bantamweight MMA at its best. He praised Yan's takedown defense and said the bout was worth watching more than once. Petr Yan, now champion again, marked the moment by thanking his family, team, and supporters who stood by him through difficult